What is going on, folks? This is Ward here, and I've got another game for you. Who is it, you ask? Let me bring up that nameplate. Spawning in the lower right, the Red Protoss playing for Root Gaming. The constant streamer, he is Minigun. And his opponent, one of the scariest Zergs on the planet, seems to have been on tilt a little bit. But this isn't a high-pressure GSL situation. This is ladder. This is where you crank out those games, and this is where we're bound to see a very good showing. He is Incredible Miracles and NesTea. Alright, guys, so this is a Heart of the Swarm game. Again, I have pretty much switched over to exclusively Heart of the Swarm content, barring this week off during the beta. I do have a couple games that I'll be able to upload during the week while there is no beta, but when those run dry, unfortunately, I won't be able to cast any games. I don't believe I can run... I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure, but I don't believe I can run a replay in the client if the beta is down. Although it's actually worth looking into. So maybe I'm speaking a little bit out of turn, but just in case, prepare yourself for a couple Wings of Liberty games if possible. Hope you guys won't mind. StarCraft is StarCraft after all, and I sure do have a bunch of good replays saved up. Now, we are going to be PvZing here on Aculon Wastes. As you can see, we've got the towers. We've got the destructible rock towers as well. Lots of towers, very towering maps, skyscraper, clouds getting broken into pieces by tall buildings. It's kind of pretty. Now, PvZ-wise, a couple things have changed in Heart of the Swarm. If you're not familiar, if you're wondering, well, what's really different about this matchup in this game? There's a couple things. Okay, number one, although we see Minigun is not doing it, Gateway expands have become a lot more popular, and it's very map particular. Certain maps like Howling Peak, for example, which, if you don't remember, is the Wintry map. Lots of snow everywhere. There's a destructible rock tower there as well, which we saw crush a few Widow Mines a few days ago, which was amazing. People like the Gateway expand there because the natural has 2 spots to wall off, which makes it kind of a pain to defend Forge Fast Expand-wise. You're forced to build multiple cannons and way more buildings than you plan to. So, seeing things like that, Gateway expand on Howling Peak is perfectly normal. Forge Fast expand a little bit more common here. I mean, we've seen this map used in Wings of Liberty, of course, so it's not surprising at all that Forge Fast expand used, and it's still very commonly used in on the Protoss side of things too. On the Zerg side of things, early game, nothing's really changed. Some people like to open gas a little bit earlier, and that's the only difference is you can get burrow quicker and overlord speed because those are on hatchery tech. But other than that, nothing really changes till lair. So there's not so much to talk about that, but the Protoss side of things, opening-wise, there's just so many things you can do. Especially with the Stargate. You can go for those Oracles, of course, and also Phoenixes are much more useful now. We're seeing a lot of Phoenix builds in Heart of the Swarm. We're going to see Minigun wall off here because those Lings did make it a little bit too early, and I want to talk about that a little bit too. So if any of you Protosses are having trouble with Forge Fast Expand, like, I mean, obviously Minigun, he walled it off, he knew this sort of thing was going to happen and no harm done except for a lost probe. Some people, you know, might not be able to handle that. A good Forge Fast Expand build order, a rule of thumb to remember, I guess, is that Zerglings are going to get to your base at 415. We saw them arrive here. That's always when they're going to get there with a normal pool before hatch build from Zerg. So you want your cannon to finish a little bit before then if you're worried about the run by. So, I mean, we saw a Minigun go for a little bit of the later forge with the Nexus prioritized. So if you want to make sure your cannon is finished in time, if you don't want to have to worry about blocking Zerglings away or, God forbid, letting them get in, 15 Forge, 17 Nexus, 17 Cannon. Gets your cannon done a little bit before the 4-minute mark. It's not too economically terrible. I mean, unless you're playing at the very, very high level, in which case you probably don't need my advice. You will be fine. I do it all the time. It works very well for me. Now, Minigun's going to be coming out here with initial Zealot, Stalker, Aggression. He's also getting the Mothership Core, and it looks like he's rallying that forward. So another thing that can change about early game PvZ, Mothership Core can be very annoying, and a lot of times we'll see this sort of pressure, the Zealot and Stalker. It'll come out, it'll weaken this Queen, but usually the Zerg is good enough at microwing to avoid it. But in this case, the Mothership Core can come and finish that Queen off. Very annoying, a little bit risky for the Protoss, of course, because losing that Mothership Core is, you know, even worse than losing a Sentry. You have to remake it, it takes up probe time, etc., etc., so it's a risk for both players. And Minigun is going to be coming out here. The point of this pressure, of course, is to try and force the Zerg to make units other than drones. And with only 2 Lings queen and a few drones here, it's going to be tough to defend. So, okay, NesTea is bringing his queen down. He's going to start focusing down the Stalker because this is the dangerous unit. This is the one that can chase queens around, and the ultimate goal of this pressure is to kill a queen. If you can't kill the queen, try to get some drones. If you can't kill the drones, try to force out a bunch of Zerglings. Looks like NesTea's not falling for it, though. Obviously, he's very used to this sort of thing. He's going to take out a couple Zerglings now because you see Minigun is investing a little bit more in this pressure, adding on a second Stalker. And back at home is producing a sentry. So this is all he's going to put toward it, but this is very damaging. We see NesTea is losing mining time. So far, Minigun has not lost a single unit. The Zealot is going to go down. He has managed to kill 4 workers, though. But now with 3 queens on the field, he's going to try to get that mothership core. Oh, the time warp going down there from Minigun, saving it at the very last moment. Literally could only take 2 more hits. And since those queens were in a line, it would have gone down very quickly indeed. Behind this, we see Minigun is taking a 3rd Nexus. And on Acheron Wastes, this map is very much like Entombed Valley. You can take that 3rd. It's very easily defendable, especially with this collapsible rock tower, although he chose to wall off instead because he doesn't necessarily have the DPS at the moment to knock this down properly. And it's going to be fully walled off and safe from those Zerglings. Excuse me, I'm going to take a sip of water here. Getting a little gravelly. Not in the best of condition, but that's okay. So the cannon here is going to help break down those rocks. Minigun going to go into a defensive position. What is he doing behind this? We see a Twilight and a Robo Council. But now let's talk a little bit about NesTea and what he is up to. We see he has a macro hatch down. We see he's got speed on the way as well. And of course with the 3 hatch gasless opening, his speed is going to be a little bit later. But we're also seeing he has all 6 gases up. So he's either going to throw down a Spire Infestation Pit with this macro hatch. I want to say Spire because he can use this to flood a lot of Lings onto the excuse me, onto the field, the playing ground, the map, and indeed we are going to see a Spire from him. So it looks like he's going for a Mutiling-based playstyle. So sorry, I got to clear this throat out. And on Acheron Waste, which a map is so large, the rush distance so big, it's going to be very useful. And of course, Mutalisks, amazing in Heart of the Swarm. Dearie me, more water for me, guys. Hopefully this clears itself up. Body, stop generating horrible fluids. Oh, it never listens. We're also seeing a Hydralisk down. Or a Hydralisk Den down for NesTea. So, I mean, he could be going Hydra Corruptor. The macro hatch makes me seem like he wants to mix a lot of Lings in there, though, but Ling Hydra is actually a composition we're seeing more. I recently casted a show match between FX Open Esports Lucky and Clarity Gaming's Young. And we saw Lucky, or I saw at least, if you were watching, you saw. We saw Lucky go for a similar composition of Hydra Ling, and my co-caster Seeker pointed out that it's a lot like what Zergs used to go for in Brood War, back when the Hydra Ling composition was one of the more prevalent ones. So we could be seeing Hydra Ling with Corruptor to deal with any potential Stargate play. But I do feel like it's going to be Mutas from NesTea. And yeah, we are going to see these 12 out because, you know, I mean, this is a relatively early Spire. Generally, you're going to get the Spire to counter Colossi, something like that. So, no, he's going to bring out the Mutas. Looks like a Minigun willing to put on a little pressure. Of course, the Mothership has that recall ability, which will allow you to teleport back to a Nexus. So he's not investing a whole lot here. This is actually kind of a pain for Zergs to deal with. However, with 16 Mutalisks coming out, if NesTea can snipe that Mothership core, Minigun will have no options for retreat. But he might take this hatchery with him. It looks like he is starting to focus that down. He's got enough force fields to just go ahead and lock the Zerg out. These rocks aren't quite done. And NesTea, it looks like he's just going to go for the counterattack. I'm not sure how I feel about it because he's fully aware the Mothership core is with this army. He knows Minigun can just recall back to his base. I feel like he would have been better served to try to snipe that Mothership core, do a little bit of damage. At the moment, he's going to try to catch Minigun with his pants down, but there, the recall has already happened. The Mutas are there, and they're going to take out a cannon, but most of Minigun's army is here. Oh, the Colossus would be a very nice pick, but no, he blinks ahead. He's going to knock away the Mutalisks. And behind this, we see a lot of Spine Crawlers going down. He's adding on those Lings. Has he added on any Hydralisks? The answer is no, not quite yet. Oh, I pressed the forward button again, guys. Sorry about that. We're going to hit back. Don't look at that production tab, our units tab. I'm covering it with my hand. All right, so we're only a little bit 30 seconds behind. I've done that before. In the last game I casted, I meant to hit D for production, hit F. That shows a lot for my my keyboard accuracy. I think it's because I moved my microphone a little bit, so I kind of have to wrap my hand around it. But the sound quality hopefully is a little bit better. So anyway, back to what I was saying before. Behind this, we see a lot of Spine Crawlers going down. No Hydralisks out quite yet for NesTea, and he's pulling back into a little bit more of a defensive posture. Meanwhile, the Warp Prism here has completely scared away the mining for NesTea. And so far in this game, wow, Minigun has killed a total of 20 workers. He seems to be very in control of this matchup at the moment. But the muta count is getting larger, and these mutas are not getting any weaker. Very fast, the regen very quickly. This Warp Prism, I'm sorry, man, but it's over for you. No. No, I just wanted to transport things. Unfortunately, he will be gone. That's pretty cool. Now, ooh, whoa, minigun. Oh, come here. Look at that. He's going into triple Stargate. You know what that means? It's going to mean a lot of Phoenix. And as I was saying in the beginning of the cast, Phoenixes are very good here. Looks like Minigun is going to be able to pick off a couple of units here in ST, not adding those into the main flock. And when birds peel away from the flock, they do tend to get a little bit torn up by focused stalker shots, something my grandmother used to say. Now, the triple Phoenix production is going to be sick. Is it going to work? It's all going to depend on Minigun's micro. Phoenixes are great, but mutas are, they're really great. So there's great versus really great. One can topple the other. It's like I said, it's going to completely come down to micro. How close of an eye is he keeping on those Phoenix? How much is he babysitting them? And how good is NesTea's micro as well? Because in order to deal with Phoenix properly, especially with this extended range that they have, you've got to be able to ball up your mutas, do that really good hold position micro, just lay some shots down. It's tough. It's very tough for both these players. We're going to see a very micro-intensive battle. Meanwhile, NesTea is going to be harassing with these Mutalisks. He's just trying to build up that Muta Ball right now. And when you're going for a Mutalisk composition that you're not immediately switching into something else for, which we saw, when you make more than 10 Mutalisks, you're pretty much just going to keep making Mutalisks. And that's what we're seeing from NesTea. You just keep mixing it up. You keep harassing to keep your opponent back in his base so he can't just counterattack you. The Mutalisks are very good at keeping Warp Prisms and things like that back, so you don't have to worry about it too much. And if you have good overload coverage, which NesTea does, you can spot Warp Prisms going out. So we see the mutas are going to go intercept that guy, and, you know, knowing the fate of the last Warp Prism, he was probably not too excited for this mission. Luckily, he's a robot. If we take a look at the worker counts here, 87, 85 drones for NesTea, 75 workers for Minigun. He is getting this 5th base up again after Minigun had taken it out. Hasn't taken these rocks yet down, though. Wondering if that might be a problem in the later game. Warp Prism has been dispatched, but the Phoenix count immediately climbing up to 13 versus 36 Mutalisks. He's got triple the mutas. Is it going to be enough, though? Look at how fast those Phoenix eat through those Mutalisks. NesTea forced to pull back. The +1 is done for these Phoenixes as well, so they're dealing serious damage, and look at that. Good micro here from Minigun. I want to pull up that APM tab, see what these guys are cranking out. Seriously high APMs right now. And NesTea is going to be forced to flee. Phoenix speed is 4.25. They are slightly faster than Mutalisks, so they can chase them down and eternally micro against them. And look at these losses. Look at the units loss tab right now. Oh my god, the Mutalisk count of NesTea is thinned out to 20, which seems like a lot, but considering what it was before at almost 40, that is a very big deal. He's bringing out some Corruptors to deal with these Phoenixes. He's going to scout the 4th base of Minigun going down, but he's going to have to deal with these Phoenixes at home first, and with no Spore Crawlers. That's right, checking the Structures tab, no Spore Crawlers. They're going to have free reign over these Mineral Lines. Queens are not going to stand a chance. Corruptors will fare much better against them, but the Phoenix count is actually just crazy. 16 now. Another Warp Prism coming out. Minigun loves to mix in those Warp Prisms. A lot of them. Lot of them. He will often have 3 going at a time. NesTea, though, has been very good about picking them off, so we're only going to have 1 on the map at the moment. And from these 3 Stargates, picking up those Zerglings, Minigun is going into a Voider composition. Now, we see NesTea is getting out Infestors. He's got Muta, Corruptor, Infestor. This is not going to fare particularly well against the composition of Minigun unless he gets chain fungled to absolute death. But it's unlikely it's going to happen. The Phoenix is very mobile. They can clump, but they do tend to spread out. Voiders definitely are very vulnerable to fungal, but honestly, I think Minigun's going to be able to come in here, lift up the Infestors, and the Voiders and Phoenixes are just going to respectively clean up the Corruptors and Mutalisks. They're each very good against their opposing unit there. We're going to see the Flying V coming in from NesTea. He's maxed out. He's on air. He's got his Hive on the way, and he's looking to do some damage. Minigun's army completely out of position. Where are the Phoenixes? Looks like they're, oh no, it's a Zealot Warp in there. There's too much happening. Okay, there's the flock of Phoenixes. They can deal with these, and NesTea's got to be careful. He can't run from these Phoenixes. He can fight them head-on with these Corruptors, though. And we see a couple of Infestors here as well. A Minigun with the Zealot Warp and has taken out this base. He's getting another Zealot Warp into the main, doing tons of damage. He's killed 24 workers in this game. The Mutalisks are going to clean this up, but when you're in the aggressive stance, it's hard for your army to prevent those Warp Prisms. Now Minigun's moving out with a deadly army. Single Colossus here. It does have range. It does have those +3, so it's going to be able to burn through any Lings on the ground rather quickly, provided the force fields do keep the Lings away from it. And where's that Warp Prism for Minigun? Looks like it is coming into the base now. Warping in more Zealots, and the army is moving out, getting ready to take down a very important base of NesTea. NesTea getting in position, though. If you take a look at these army compositions, 13 Stalkers, 3 Void Rays, 16 Phoenixes, 5 Sentries, and the Zealots are focusing down this hatchery. It looks like they just might be able to get it as well. Transfuse is going down for NesTea. Meanwhile, Minigun is coming in to the 4th base, picks up that Infestor before it has a chance. God, that is disgusting. The hatchery is going to go down. This hatchery barely survives another warp and might finish it off. How quickly is Minigun going to be able to do it, though? He is not maxed out, so he can get some Zealots in there to focus on the hatchery. Nope, it is going to survive for now. NesTea is going to knock away these attacks. Looks like Minigun did, where the hell's the army? Okay, went for a recall over to the 4th base there. Now we got Templar mixed in. We actually have a single carrier in this army as well. He's almost got one of everything, man. The only thing he's missing is Archons. Archons and Dark Templar. Other than that, I think he's made every unit except for the Oracle. And the Mothership, but I don't really count it as a unit anymore. We have a lot of Mutalisks here from NesTea. Phoenix count still at 16. If you take a look at the upgrades, the Mutas are at 2-1. His Lings are at 2-0. Minigun's air is at 2. +2 attack. He's got the Onion Crystals for those Phoenixes. And I know it's not Onion. I know it's Anion or whatever, but I like Onion. And he's got the level 3 ground weapons, too. And the Phoenixes here actually doing some serious damage to these Corruptors. The Phoenix count is just too high for NesTea to deal with. But in the meantime, the Mutalisks are able to focus down that Nexus and remove one of the mining bases of Minigun. He'll only be mining off of about 1.5 bases at the moment. Gonna need to get some probes over there to fully saturate that. Time for me to get some more water. Excuse me, guys. And now we have some Corruptors, more Corruptors mixing into the army of NesTea. He's got the +3 flyer attacks on the way. This is Sky Zerg versus Sky Toss. But I feel like the Sky Toss composition is just a little bit more powerful. We see a single Swarm Host coming out. I am beginning to think that was a mistake from NesTea. He's like, oh, I'll make one Swarm Host. Or, you know, a misclick or something. I actually don't play a lot of Zerg. What is the button for Swarm Host? It's A. Yeah, that's right there. That's right there. You could totally hit that by accident. I'd hit that. Now, Minigun still has a single carrier. Actually has a couple Tempests in here as well. Now, Tempests aren't that good. They tickle anything that isn't a Broodlord, really. In this case, I mean, they don't deal the air splash that we were promised in the very early alpha stages of Heart of the Swarm. But they might be pretty good at picking off Infestors. Right now, they're doing an okay job at taking down Creep Tumors. Way to go, boys. Fight the good fight. Infestor count right now for NesTea is actually 0. He's getting 2 out right now. But are they going to be out in time? And number 1, are they even going to help? It looks like, oh, the Storm doing huge damage to these clustered area units. NesTea going to get on top of this army, but the Storm's doing everything. And Minigun's units have so many hit points that even storming his own units doesn't really matter. The Mutalisks so squishy when they sit in storms like that, they just go down far too quickly, and that is why Minigun was doing it like that. He knew he could trade much better than his opponent. He's coming down, he takes down this hatchery, really regretting keeping the health bars on at that point, but it was also cool to see them go down into the red, so apologies if that was a little bit annoying, guys. The drones getting burned, remaxing on Zerglings. However, almost the entire army of Minigun is air. We have a lot of Corruptors coming out here as well. How many Voiders? 5 Voiders, quite a few Phoenixes. It's not looking good for NesTea. He's going to clean up everything on the ground with these Zerglings, it looks like, as long as he can get that Colossus relatively quickly. The Hallucinated Colossus actually soaking up a lot of damage, saving this Colossus. All the Lings disappear. A Fungal shoots out, but it only catches a single Phoenix. Minigun coming in with Stalker reinforcements. NesTea has been pushed to the top of his ramp, and the army for Minigun is only getting bigger. More Lings and Corruptors coming out here for NesTea, but this composition is just so hard to deal with. And it's not necessarily that it's imbalanced, but if the Protoss rather is able to get up to this ultimate composition, which honestly there's just not a unit composition or a single unit that Zerg can make that's like 100% effective against it, but of course that's the way the game should be. But the Mutalisk pressure for NesTea didn't really do what he wanted it to do. Minigun responded amazingly with 3 Stargates. There's the GG. He was able to get out a lot of Phoenix. The Mutalisks were very effectively dealt with, and you know, since the main force of NesTea was cleaned up, Minigun was given free reign to just get whatever he wanted. So there we have it, guys. If you're shooting for an endgame composition, not sure what to do in Heart of the Swarm, this is definitely it. GG there to Minigun and to NesTea as well, who put up the good fight. A lot of Mutalisks, but Phoenixes are pretty darn good against them. So thanks for watching, guys. Please make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't. Would really appreciate it. And also tune into Spotlight on Clarity, my interview show where I'll interview a Clarity Gaming member, and then they go up in a best-of-7 show match against another pro gamer. That's every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. on twitch.tv/thehandsomenerd. I hope to see you there and at the next cast.